A little boy once asked his dad, "Dad, how do I control my temper? What do I do when I get extremely angry?" His dad told him, "Son, you just have to look for something and punch it." I mean, that's what I do when I get angry. I look for something and then I punch it out there. A few months later, just before his 13th year's birthday, he murders a person. So the little boy you see on the screen, his name is Derek Robbie. Derek Robbie was born in March of 1988. So let's move to 1993. Derek Robbie is 4 years old. His mom just gave birth to a younger sibling, and the sibling is 3 months old. So on this particular day, it's weekend and he has to go to their summer camp. Summer camp is just a 4 minutes walk from the house. And the younger baby is crying. Like the baby is crying serious and the mom is trying to pacify him. He's not stopping. The mom is confused. She has to take him to the camp and she's trying to tend to this baby as well. He's running late for camp. So he tells his mom, "Mom, don't worry. I'll just go to the camp. When it's time for close, you can come pick me up." And the mom says, "Okay." She sees him off to the exit door. He leaves. 3 hours later, it's 11 a.m. She wants to get him from the camp. So she goes to the camp to pick him and then she finds out that he was not in camp that day. He never got to camp. So immediately she makes a distress call to 911. Our story takes place in the United States in a very small community called Savannah. So the people of this community, they are a very close-knit group of people. They are very familiar with each other. I mean, everybody knows this little boy, Derek Robbie. He's adorable, he's beautiful, he's smart. So everybody likes him, he's loved. So what happened? So over 80 persons came out that day to help search for this boy. And then a little boy comes up, he tells them that he knows where he is. He saw him somewhere. So he comes out like, "Come show us." So he takes them to this place in the woods, just off the road to the camp. And then they go there. Lying lifeless is the body of Derek, 4-year-old Derek Robbie, brutally beaten to death. So what happened? The cops think the little boy probably saw something. He saw an adult do this. Who could be this wicked? Who could have done this to a 4-year-old? So the cops swing into action. They're trying to find out who murdered him. A few days later, Eric Smith is asking strange questions at home. That what happens to a child who commits a crime? The dad is like, "What's happening, son? Is there something you are not telling us? Just talk to us." And then he ends up confessing to the mother of the 4-year-old Derek Robbie. So to get to the root of this, let's find out who is Eric Smith. Eric Smith was born on the 22nd of January 1980. He had been described as a kid who was always alone. He used to make joke and then laugh at his own joke. Like he talks to himself. He had no friends. He was a loner. The only thing people knew about him was the fact that he had anger issues. He was always angry. He used to take out his angers on animal. He had once killed a neighbor's cat. And he was always riding his bicycle alone. He had no friends. His sister once testified of how she witnessed he was the subject of bully of the older boys in his school. Of how she witnessed some of the older boys in his school. They once took his bag, they dumped his book on the floor, and then they yelled at him to pick them up. He had to pick them up. Eric Smith, when his mom was pregnant, she was into some kind of medication. So when he was born, he had health issues. He was subject to several tests. So he eventually developed anger issues as a kid. He was always angry. And so that was how he sought this advice from his dad. And then when he was born, apart from the health challenges he had, his ears kind of like sat a little bit below his head. He had protruded teeth, the type we call anyako ear. So he had red hair. He was red haired and then he wore big glasses. So the kids in the school, they were always bullying him and making fun of him. So he was always he always got angry. There was no other way to defend himself. He was always getting angry. And then on this particular day, he went to the summer camp. He was at the camp. So he was sent home on grounds of bad behavior. On his way back, he said he was angry while he was coming back, while he was confessing to the crime. He said he was angry. So while he was coming back, he went into the woods and then since his dad advised him to like take out his anger on objects, he hit a tree, like he punched the trunk of a tree, but he got hurt. His hand bled, so he was scared. So he left the place, and then he saw Derek Robbie. So he decided to tell him to follow him, that he knows a shorter route to the camp. And then Derek Robbie ends up following him. While he followed him, they got into the wood. He punched him, and then he kept on punching Derek Robbie. Derek Robbie started crying. He said at one point he got scared that he was going to tell on him, and eventually he beat him up to death. After beating him up, he said to confirm that he was dead, he used a stick to sodomize him. Can you imagine that? I mean, Eric Smith is barely 13 years old. So he used a stick to sodomize him, and then he placed a large rock on his head and then left him there. So now the people in this community, they were heartbroken. Finding out, it is one thing to find out that the little boy that is loved by everyone had just been murdered, and then finding out that the perpetrator of this murder is another little boy again. So these people were hurt, they were heartbroken, they couldn't find a place in their heart to forgive Eric Smith. Eric Smith was eventually sent to jail. So he was in court at first. So when he was say he was while he was in custody, he was given a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist diagnosed him of intermittent explosive disorder. This is a condition that causes individual to behave irrationally. And the sufferers of this condition, they are often very, very unpredictable. So during his defense lawyer tried to make this as a point to like argue for him. But eventually it was ruled out on the grounds that the condition is very rare, especially for children of his age. Like he was barely 13 years old. So it was eventually ruled out. So while he confessed to the crime, he said at that point he was not he was dishing out the pain on another child, and because he got scared, that was why it eventually led to the death of Eric Smith. So he was sentenced to like he was eventually sentenced to 9 years to life imprisonment. So after serving the 9 years, he was out for parole. Why he was out for parole, he was denied parole. Second time again, he was out for parole. He was denied parole. So after spending the first 9 years, eventually he became an adult in the jail. So while he was 18, he was first of all tried as a juvenile. So while he was 18, he was tried again. He was taken to an adult holding cell. So he started spending the other part of his years in the adult holding cell. He came out for parole about 10 times, and 10 times he was denied parole. At
A
one point, even his
four-year-old
parents,
child when
they sent a
he
letter
was
to the police
13 has
department.
been
They said they
denied
did not
parole
want
again.
him released.
Eric
They want
Smith,
him
seen here
to
in video from
remain
the
there.
initial
So
time of the
eventually,
crime, was sentenced to 9 years to life in prison back in 1994 after he killed Derek Roby. Smith lured the little boy into the woods in Steuben County and crushed his skull with a rock.
Yes, he's 41 years old today, and he's still in custody. Reason being that he has to submit his new address, like when he's released, where he will be living. And the address he submitted, he submitted his mom's address. He wants to go back home to family, but the condition is that he cannot go back to that community. The people in that community do not want to see him. Nobody wants to see him in that community again. His mom lives there. So pending when he gives them a better address, he will eventually be released. So he spent 27 years in the correctional facility. So failed Eric Smith. Was it his dad? Was it the wrong advice from his dad? Was it the community? Was it the older boys, like the people that were bullying him? So at a point, there was a time he came out for on parole. I think it was 2016. So he wrote a letter of apology to the family of Derek Robbie. He said while he has been in jail, he has thought about many things that he took away from the young Derek Robbie, many things that he had not been able to forgive himself as well. He said he has thought about how Eric Smith will not be experiencing his 16 years birthday, his graduation from college, his first child, holding his first child. And he said if he could turn back the hands of time and switch places, he would have liked to like switch places with Derek Robbie and die in his place. He said it was at one point at his life when he felt that he wasn't he wasn't at that point the object of bullying, but rather he was the one dishing out pain on another soul. So and he has expressed how sorry he is and all of that. So eventually has been granted parole, was granted parole just last year, October. So that's it for me today, guys. Tell me what you think about this story. And all right, I'll be seeing you guys next time. Just Farotali signing out.